And welcome back to Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nashon Owano. As had been promised, this week we are going to be having a special dedicated edition for Formula One enthusiasts out there. I know many people have been talking about the fact that every single day, day in, day out, we're just talking about football, rugby, but today we just decided to do something special just for you. Just before I introduce my guest from the day, this is just some of the things that you need to understand about the Formula One action that took place this past weekend. That is Lewis Hamilton managed to reach a total of 91 race wins, equaling the total that was achieved by Michael Schumacher a couple of years ago. There's been a conversation about the possibility of him carrying the title into taking the 7th title, which is also going to be equaling Michael Schumacher. These are just some of the things that you need to understand in terms of how the standing is right now. The Formula One, these are how the wins have been in the past couple rounds of Formula One. Now, the FL Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton took that particular one with a win of 1 hour, 35 minutes and 49 seconds and 641 milliseconds. Then the Russian Grand Prix was taken by Valtteri Bottas from Team Mercedes, and then Tuscan Grand Prix was taken by Lewis Hamilton. The Italian Grand Prix was won by Pierre Gasly, who's from the Alfa Tauri Honda team, and then Belgium Grand Prix was taken by Lewis Hamilton, and then finally the Spanish Grand Prix was won by Lewis Hamilton. Now, in terms of the season standings so far, that is Lewis Hamilton tops the total leaderboard standings with a total of 230 points, followed by Valtteri Bottas with a total of 161 points, and then Max Verstappen with a total of 147. Then Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez have 78 and 68 points respectively. Now, on the show today, I'm joined by Roya Mukari, who's a Formula One enthusiast. Roya, thank you so much for finding time to come on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Maybe for somebody who's not into Formula One, take us like a basic. What are some of the key things that they probably need to look at in Formula One?
So the race usually has 20 contestants, each from 10 different teams. So each team has 2 drivers with them. Obviously, there's the winners, there's the middle tier, and then there's the backpackers, which are the bottom. Everyone from number 1 to number 10 gets points according to their standings in the race, but the bottom 10 usually don't. And that's, I think, the basics.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's usually something when you're watching Formula One where you see it happen. I think it happened to Lewis Hamilton a couple of races back, where you were slapped with a penalty. Why does that happen? Maybe somebody will be wondering, why does that happen and what's the impact of that?
So you get penalties when you do something wrong, which would be driving someone off the track. Because of the speeds that they're moving at, it's very easy to push someone off of the track. So you get a penalty for that. Another reason for getting a penalty is if there's a safety car on the road, maybe there's an accident on the track and a safety car has been deployed, and you overtake while the safety car is still there. That will cost you a penalty. The impact of getting a penalty, obviously, every millisecond counts. So the 10-second penalty drops you maybe 4 positions. You could have been the leader and you get smacked down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Formula One, let's talk about the latest one. What were some of the things that stood out for you at the FL Grand Prix?
Well, of course, with the speeds that they move at, it's very likely that an incident will occur. So one of the accidents that happened on the track cost the Williams team a point or a position, a driver. There was also a lot of cars losing power on the track. So, for example, Mercedes, Bottas' car lost power and he was unable to finish second, which he usually does, and somebody else took over. Those are kind of the things that stood out in this race. Yeah.
Okay. There's been a conversation about the possibility of Bottas and Verstappen being the next faces of Formula One. What do you make of that as a Formula One enthusiast?
There's With the younger group, there's a lot of competition currently taking place, especially Verstappen and Leclerc. So with those are two people that you need to watch out for. Like Verstappen was number 2 in the last race. So there's really a lot of that competition coming up. So even though Bottas is in Mercedes and they're a winning team, he should be a bit frightened of the rest of the group behind him. Yeah.
Okay. Valtteri Bottas is not really resting. He's not giving Lewis Hamilton an easy time.
Really.
Because if you watched the FL Grand Prix, at some point he was ahead and he had a grain on his left tire. So should Lewis Hamilton be afraid of probably losing the title to Bottas?
I wouldn't say that exactly. As you can see, he's one of now the most successful drivers in F1, 91 poles. Same level as Michael Schumacher, they're equal now. And if he wins the next race, then he has surpassed everybody. So with the amount of times he keeps winning, or even though he doesn't win, he still gets a podium, I don't think there's much competition for him. The only reason we would see change is because the regulations are changing the next season. So there's a lot of, whenever regulations change, a different team starts winning. That has been the track record. So maybe next season we'll see a few new winners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see Lewis Hamilton overtaking Schumacher?
Yes.
I like how that was definitive. Like you had actually thought about it. Just before I plug you back, in case you're wondering, in terms of the standings, why we are talking so much about the record that was broken by Lewis Hamilton at the AFL Grand Prix. These are just some of the things that you need to understand in terms of the people who have held the titles. There's the World Championship titles. Michael Schumacher has a total of 7 championship titles, followed by Lewis Hamilton, who's 6 and has already been tipped off to probably equal that record or surpass that particular record. And then there's Juan Fangio, who has 5 championship titles, and then Alan Prost has 4, and then finally we have Sebastian Vettel with 4 championship titles. In terms of Grand Prix wins, which we were talking about with Roya, is Lewis Hamilton equaled the championship record that was held by Michael Schumacher. That is 91 race wins, a total of 91 race wins. And then there's Sebastian Vettel with 53 race wins, and then Alan Prost, and then the last person is going to be Ayrton Senna, who died at the San Marino Grand Prix in 1994. In terms of the team's performance, in terms of the drivers and the how do you call them? In terms of the creators, I don't know, the cars, sorry. In terms of the cars, do you see, is there any creators team or any racing team that you think has really stood out, irrespective of whether they've won any of those races?
The constructors.
Yeah, so the constructors. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, constructors.
The constructors, I think for me, would be Red Bull. They keep pushing, even through difficult circumstances. Same as Ferrari, but they're currently going through technological changes, so they're falling a bit behind. But Red Bull really stands out, especially with their sister team, AlphaTauri. So they're really giving the rest of the competitors some competition, which is looking good. It's no longer just watching Mercedes win race after race. So now we're starting to look at the other teams battling it out. Yeah.
Now that you're talking about the teams, a case of Lewis Hamilton winning the races, is it because of the car or it's the skill?
It's a bit of the performance of the car and then the driver. Because if you look at it, there's 2 drivers in every team. So if you look at Bottas's performance and Hamilton's performance, then you can see it's also about the driver. It's not just about the team. So it's really a bit of both. Yeah. And also Mercedes make their own engines. When you come to teams like Red Bull, who get their engines from another company like Honda, then it becomes a bit trickier to increase your performance that way. It's better when your engines are made in-house. Yeah.
There's the Portuguese Grand Prix that is going to come in the couple of weeks. Probably your prediction on that particular race. Who do you think is going to be standing out and which team is going to come on top?
According to the previous races, I think we can say Mercedes is going to come out on top. But Red Bull and Ferrari are really ones to watch out for. The last race, Renault and McLaren also gave them a run for their money. But I would say Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari.
Okay. Yeah. By Mercedes, you mean Bottas or Lewis Hamilton, or both of them?
Let's just say Hamilton.
Yes. Okay. So, thank you so much for finding time to come on studio. Looking forward to having you more on the Short Talk Matters Formula One. Yeah. So that has been Roya talking to us about Matters Formula One. Just so you know, this is going to be just one of the many editions or segments that you're going to be having on Formula One. We're going to be ensuring that we give you information on some of the best sports that you like. With that, we take a short commercial break. After the break, I'm going to be coming with more information on some of the things that you need to understand that is happening in the sports world. See you after the break.